So I'm driving on the northern neck of Virginia today. I am currently stopped on a bridge, which is always fun because all right, here, it's kind of sketchy. Like this is well, it's like a pretty view, but that's why it's sketchy. It's like a 2-lane bridge, and that's what I'm stuck on. And like the cars go by and like bridge shakes, and you're like, I'm gonna die. Anyways, I had a cool thought, just wanted to share it. DJ Khaled. DJ Khaled is a cool dude. If you are my age, anywhere around my age, a little bit older than me, anywhere in the field of being a millennial, then you might be familiar with DJ Khaled. DJ Khaled is a big personality. He's a magnetizing dude. He is always working with lots of different artists. That's kind of his thing. He collaborates with people. He is a great artist. He's a great producer. He's a great musician. Music is his thing, but he has become an icon. That's a big phrase in today's culture, a mogul or an icon. And what draws us into DJ Khaled is he's got this infectious personality, very magnetizing. He kind of draws people in. He's happy. He's got a lot of phrases. And one of the phrases that I thought about today as I'm driving on the old northern neck of Virginia is, "We up to something." We up to something. That's one of the phrases that he says all the time when he's with his groups of people. He'll be working on an album in the studio with some of the musicians that he's brought in, and he'll kind of look over on his Instagram story and be like, yeah, we up to something. We up to something. Or he'll be in the car, just coming from the studio, be like, yeah, we just worked on this, worked on a couple of tracks today, something big, it's a big thing, we up to something. And so he says it all the time. And so what that phrase means to me as a Christian, as a believer in Christ, is it directly applies to our relationship with God. He's up to something, but we are up to something. God and us together, collectively as one, we are up to something. So many times when people ask us what's going on in our life, we either respond with a ho-hum answer, or we kind of tell them what's really going on, and it's not great. It's a poor response. We're like, oh, I'm having all these problems. But we forget that God is up to something. We forget that God is in control. We forget that God is still on the throne. The interesting thing about what DJ Khaled does is he is up to something, which is typically in reference to an album. And an album doesn't happen overnight. An album takes months. An album could take years. Typically for DJ Khaled, he'll put that thing out in a couple of months once he gets to working on it. And it just indicates that even though we're up to something, which is what he says, we up to something, it still takes time for that album to be released. It just is what it is. Everything takes time. So I think that we forget two things when we think about our relationship with God. The first is this, is that God is always up to something. Jeremiah 29:11, for the Lord has plans for our lives, plans to prosper us and not to harm us. Plans this big future that he's got for us. We forget that. And then Romans 8:28, we are more than conquerors in Christ. This life has nothing on us. We've conquered it. We are more than conquerors through Christ. That's a powerful thought, but we forget that. The second part is this, is that we forget that it takes time. We worry so much about what's going on in our life and when it's going to happen and why hasn't it happened yet, but it's in God's timing. It's in his will. And so the next time somebody asks you something, don't give them the ho-hum answer. Don't give them the ho-hum response. Tell them, nah, man, me and God, we're up to something. We up to something. So today, be up to something. We up to something with God.